they will be in a governor house. And I can tell you the power behind. Of course, our chairman, Kevin, I don't know where he is. He's standing on the side. Kevin, can you please come on the podium to start the program? Kevin showed his leadership from the last many years, bring Middlesex County so prominent in New Jersey. It is really so important for anybody who running for election. It is a Senate, Congress. They have to get help from the Middlesex County. And the man behind, you guys know here, right of me, I will ask him to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zubair. First and foremost, let's hear it for Dr. Zubair for bringing us all together here tonight once again. And I want to also recognize good friends who continuously work with Dr. Zubair, and that is Sujita and Hanan, who have been terrific, especially in the absence and the great loss of our good friend Sam Khan a couple of years ago. But by all means, the leadership here remains front and center. I want to thank Dr. Zubair for not putting any pressure on Middlesex County for delivering the next governor, but that was a punchline. Anytime you want to laugh, go right ahead. So, nevertheless, I think, Congresswoman, what you'll find in Middlesex is you're traversing and running for higher office. And yet another example of your willingness to put aside everything that you could do in your professional career, as accomplished as you are, but to seek higher office, to become the next governor of New Jersey, which, by the way, is no easy job. To that end, it's not easy to run for public office these days. We have a whole array of people up here, of elected officials, from your mayor to the assembly, to our county commissioners, to constitutional officers, and so on. Board of Ed members, I'm sure, in the audience tonight. But the divisiveness is real. The rhetoric is rhetoric I never thought we would experience in my lifetime, let alone the fact that my 9- and 7-year-old would have to encounter. Just years ago, you think you're turning that corner to a more civil society. And unfortunately, that has become a challenge. Thank God we have the capability and the individuals who are willing to take on that challenge. Lord knows in Middlesex County here, we're not afraid of challenges. It's not always easy, right, Doctor? It's not always easy. We work through the challenges. We work through our relationships. But I like to think that we hold in our hearts that we're doing this for the right reason. Middlesex County, I happen to believe, over the last several years, and I grew up in Middlesex County, I grew up in Islam. And I told the story where I've seen the changes take first place when I went to St. Cecilia's and saw the transition of the demography of what was Oak Tree Road back in the late 80s and early 90s. And here we are today. Through those challenges, I think Middlesex County has become not only a model, but indeed a beacon of what we can be as a better civil society. And the people in this room demonstrate that. And this is across all the spectrums. Our strength is in our diversity. Our strength is in our demography. That we can sit across church, temple, mosque, regardless of what it is. Have conversations, disagree, but always understand that we're going to walk away maybe slightly educated, maybe a little less ignorant, and maybe a little bit more tolerant than we were before that conversation. And I think that has served us well, Congresswoman. You have demonstrated that throughout your entire career. Your life has been, your professional career has been about being selfless, not selfish. We are seeing a lot of selfish acts on a bigger stage. But as you know, I like to say we can only worry about what we can control, especially in the four walls of Middlesex County. And that's why we, unified in a terrific leadership that you have here. And I can't say enough, by the way, of the leadership that has been provided over the last 4 years of our great mayor, Sam Joshi. Mayor, terrific job. And all of your candidates, but all of your elected officials. It's hard. But at a time when we need it most, I happen to believe, and I think collectively we all believe, and this was demonstrated at our convention back in March with an overwhelming response of affirmation for the Congresswoman. Her time of the Academy, serving our country, being a federal prosecutor. I sound like one of your commercials. Am I doing a good job on that? I should turn the channel. And then my kids will watch something. But it's true. You have to start from a core, folks. You have to start from here. A good place, a good person who wants to do the right thing. Again, someone like Congresswoman Sherrill could go on and do whatever she wants to do and be extraordinarily successful at it. But here she is tonight, on May 27th, sitting in a room tonight with you guys, with this group, because that's how important it is to her. That to me speaks, that's just a microcosm of who she is and what she will be. I happen to believe not only is she going to win a primary, but I do believe when we need it most, and to get political a little bit, there's only 2 states up this year. One is Virginia, and God willing, I believe that's going to go Democratic, and the other one is New Jersey. And who would have told me in the last couple of years that New Jersey would be the one in question? New Jersey would be the place where the President of the United States is going to put in resources. I happen to believe that the person sitting behind me is going to assure, not only will she make sure that the New Jersey's gubernatorial seat remains Democratic, but also takes the challenge of governing seriously and does it for the right reasons. Not for the self, but for the you. And that's why I, as chair, and the leaders behind me, and the Middlesex Democratic Organization, Dr. Zubair, and the people in this room are going to do what we have to do, and we're going to be a better, my 9 and 7-year-old are going to be better off because I believe Congresswoman Sherrill will be the next governor of the great state of New Jersey. Dr. Zubair, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. So I just want to thank American Muslim for Democracy, who put together this whole gathering, especially Brother Ayaz, Brother Basir, Saad, Nick Sleen, of course, Hanan, amazingly done so much work. It's amazing how much he did. His sister Aruj, his mother. It is all combining amazingly how we make the difference, planning it and making it happen. I also want to thank you, Brother Albert Jassani, who owns this place. He's just kind enough to let us use his place. And thank you so much, always helping the community to move forward. So, introducing Congresswoman, I think I will leave the word Congress out, that's behind. We got to move forward, right? We got to use as a governor, right? Future governor. So, Mikie, if you know her past, when young people grow up, right, they have a certain passion in life, they want to do certain things. I guess she ended up joining Navy, became a helicopter pilot. And most of the people will think at that time that, you know, this is my destination, this is what I do. But not Mikie. She goes further, go to Cairo University and learn Arabic. And I was surprised how, when she speaks Arabic, how her accent is, how much knowledge she has. That did not satisfy her. She wanna go next step. And she ended up in Georgetown doing the law school, becoming the federal prosecutor in New Jersey. And I guess still was not enough. She said, how else I can do, how I can break the ceiling and move forward. And then she ended up contesting election in a district, which was a red district, converting into blue district, and amazingly win election. An excellent election was a landslide victory for her. So many people will think, you know what, she achieved everything, she got everything, she is where anybody can dream. But I guess that was not true yet. And she ended up saying, well, I care about New Jersey. I care what I need to make a difference. And as a community, I can tell you where we are today. We never been to this place. We never been where our education is marginalized. Our community is marginalized. Our elderly been marginalized. Our patients in the hospital are being marginalized. Who is not nervous? Everybody in the community is nervous. We need somebody, governor, we need somebody who rules us in New Jersey, who can be our right hand, who can help us and say, I am your leader, I can take you forward. Today, we don't see leaders. I think we gotta continue and break the ceiling and I think set up the record again. The Democratic can be again come be governor even after 8 years of Democratic governorship, right? It will be amazing. And what she done so far, what she doing so far, I think there's all hope and is there. So without further ado, I will request Mikie Sherrill to come on the podium to speak to you. Please stand up and give her, with applause, welcome on the podium. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here tonight. And Dr. Zubair, thank you. This is a really amazing event. And I've been going up and down the state, as you can imagine, in an election like this, speaking to as many people as possible. And I speak to hundreds of people a day. And to come into a room like this, at a time of crisis like this in our country, and to see so many thoughtful people taking the time out of their schedule, knowing we have an important race on our hands on June 10th, and knowing that the heart of our democracy is active participation, to see all of you here tonight, I think is really amazing, and is why I tell people across this country when they ask me, there are only two races, as you heard. There's just New Jersey and Virginia, and people say to me, is New Jersey up to the task? And it's rooms like this that make me proudly tell everyone else in the nation, yes, we're up to it. We're ready. We're ready to fight. We're ready to charge forward on a different path and push back against the attacks we see coming from the federal government. As you heard, as some of you already know, my name is Mikie Sherrill, and I'm running for governor of New Jersey. And I'm doing that because I've served this country my entire life. I took my first oath to the Constitution when I was a teenager. I decided I wanted to go to the Naval Academy when I was in the 5th grade. But I told my dad, I really want to go to the Naval Academy and I want to fly. I want to go into naval aviation. And he said to me, I don't know if the Naval Academy takes women. And he said, and if they do, I'm not sure the Navy lets women fly. But because of the way that I was taught to believe in this country, because of the idea that we're not a perfect nation, but we're always striving to be a more perfect nation, I wasn't worried about that. And I'm afraid that too many of our kids don't have that same sense of the opportunity of this nation. But because of the opportunity that this nation has historically provided people, I thought I could take the challenge on. And so I went to the Naval Academy and graduated in the first class of women that were eligible for combat on ships and aircraft. And as you can imagine, that makes a huge difference in the opportunities available to you. I think it was that opportunity that I had that led to now being in Congress. It's that opportunity that I had years ago that has led to me now running for governor. And in this administration, I see an attempt to roll back the progress we've made. So I see an attempt in the United States military to erase our history, to erase the service of the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II, of the Navajo Code Talkers, of women who've served, an attempt to roll back all of this opportunity. And I have 4 teenagers. And I can't leave this country to them if I don't know that they're going to have the same opportunities, that their children are going to have the same opportunities that I've had. And that's what I'm fighting for. But that's not going to be enough, because people need more than their rights and freedoms, especially here in New Jersey. We also need to know that we can afford to stay here, that our kids can move back home, that our parents can stay here and watch their grandchildren grow. And so that's why, Governor, I'm going to fight to make sure we are driving down the cost of homes. It's the #1 thing I hear about, and we are never going to make New Jersey more affordable if we don't make housing more affordable. I'm going to work to drive down the cost of utilities, which we know are set to go up, and to help fix our broken healthcare system. And it's going to take courage. It's going to require taking on entrenched interests. But I have to tell you, I am sick of the people that refuse to stand up for what's right. I think about, as I was a Navy helicopter pilot, I can tell you I learned a lesson. The worst thing you can do in the United States Navy is to run a ship aground. And yet every single time that happens, you find that people on the bridge of the ship knew that it was going to run aground. And they don't say anything because they're afraid. They're afraid of the commanding officer of the ship, so they don't say anything. And they put their own self-interest ahead of the ship and its crew. And I tell you that story right now because I see that in Washington every single day. I see it when Republicans pledge to protect your Medicaid and yet go ahead and vote for whatever Trump tells them to vote for. But even worse, I see it here in New Jersey. I see it in Jack Ciattarelli, who's also running as a Republican to be the next governor. I see it when he breaks land speed records going to Bedminster to kiss Trump's ring, and yet has said nothing about cuts to Medicaid or Medicare or Security or Department of Education funding or NIH funding. Nothing. In fact, that's not entirely true. When asked if he would use his attorney general to stand up against those cuts, he said, no, I will never use my attorney general to stand up against an executive order from Donald Trump. That's not leadership, and that's not the person we need in this state. So that's why I'm running, because I want a better future for you. I want a better future for our kids. I want to drive innovation and opportunity and protect people's future here in the Garden State. So hopefully I can earn your vote on June 10th, early voting, June 3rd to 8th. And I'm really looking forward to taking your questions tonight. So thank you so much. Thanks, Dr. Zubair.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mikie. I just want to thank a few more people. Brother Ozair, his daughter Alina, MCNJ community, thank you so much helping us to putting this together. I also want to thank you, Brother Muhammad Ali, who always helped making the banners and help the community moving forward. I want to thank you, my wife, my sister, my brother, helping me, letting me stay late at night. Thank you. So next, what we done as an organization committee, we have 5 volunteers, and we carefully choose the question as a committee so young people can ask those questions to Mikie and see where she stands on that. So I will ask Alina Omarzai to please stand up, ask your first question. Thank you.
Hello? Hi, my name is Alina, and my question is, where do you stand on people being detained without charges, and how do you plan on protecting immigrant communities in New Jersey so they can go to school, university, and work without fear?
So I've served all over the world in the Navy, and I've served in places where people can be picked up without charges and detained. And I tell people everywhere I go, it might start with green card holders, but it doesn't end there. It ends by picking up US citizens who disagree with the president and putting them in jail and detaining them. That is where this is headed to if we don't all stand up and do something about it. I am incredibly opposed to people being detained without charges. It is not constitutional. It is something that I have opposed my entire life as a person who's taken more oaths to the Constitution as a helicopter pilot and a federal prosecutor and a member of Congress than I can remember. And I think it is incredibly dangerous. And we see these attacks again and again and again, up to and including people being deported mistakenly. And so I have very close friends who came to me, and the husband is a naturalized American citizen. And he said, I want to go see my parents in Colombia. Do you think it's safe to do so? And I said, I wouldn't do it right now. And his wife said to me, well, Mikie, he's a citizen. He has a US passport. And I said, I know. We are facing times in this country that I've never seen before, and a president that's out of control. And I think we all have to both be very careful, but also strongly push back. And that's exactly what I would do as governor. I'm going to uphold the rights of people here in this state. I'm going to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and the laws of this country. And that is to me a very clear line, and there is no mistaking that right now we are seeing incursions on our Constitution, and I am opposed to them, and I've been speaking out about that. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. Next person we have Khushi Abichal. Khushi, can you stand up and ask the question? Thank you.
Hello. Hi. My name is Kushi, and my question is regarding of making New Jersey more affordable. So we all know the cost of housing and property taxes have gone up and keep rising. What is your plan to make New Jersey more affordable for working families in the state?
Well, I encourage everyone to go to MikieSherrill.com and look at my affordability agenda, which will have more detail. But there are several things that I have laid out there that are really critical to making New Jersey more affordable, and I start with housing. As I go across the state, that is the number one thing I hear about. So whether it's the woman in Patterson who had retired and went back to work because she could no longer afford her rental apartment, the woman in Jersey City who's paying 70% of her income. Anyone paying over 30% is considered house poor. She's paying over 70% of her income in her rent. Or the couple that I've talked to, the young couple, they want to start a family and they want to move back near Livingston where he grew up. And he said, we can't afford anything in Livingston. And they keep looking further and further and further out. And the sort of joke, and it's not totally funny, that I tell people is, I have 4 teenagers. And for all of you who have teenagers, I hope your house is not as messy as mine is, because they are driving me crazy, and I love them so much, but I dream of the day one day where they might actually move out and start their own family in their own home. And right now, they're not on a path to do that in New Jersey. It's just too expensive. And so I'm gonna make sure we beef up the first-time homebuyer program. Right now, it's at $15,000. That is not going to really get you very far in New Jersey. I want to make sure that we're taking landlords who are colluding that's illegal, to court, so they can't jack up prices on rental properties. I'm going to make sure that we are addressing permitting and red tape, because that is driving up the cost. I spoke to one gentleman who had to go through 12 years of permitting. I said, how much did that cost you? He said, millions. That's driving up the cost of housing. And finally, making sure we're repurposing those spaces in our state that really are ideal for housing. So everybody knows an abandoned strip mall or office park or town that needs to be revitalized. So let's start there. And as governor, I'm going to make sure we have tax credits to repurpose those areas of our state. And in that way, building and driving down the cost of housing. And I'll just say, Colorado, over the past several years, has built at 2-to-1 per capita the number of homes New Jersey has. Their housing prices have gone down by 20%. Over the last 5 years, ours have gone up by 50%. So I would start by building houses. Healthcare, making sure we have an independent auditor for the state health benefits plan, and making sure that we address PBMs, the middlemen who are driving up pharmaceutical costs. Utility cost, immediately getting into solar. It's the cheapest form of power. And even as PJM, our grid operator, has screwed up the market and our prices are going to go up by 20% for utilities this summer, we should start moving into solar. That is an area we can move into, drive down prices that don't go through PJM. So we can immediately start to drive down costs there and then expand power. For all of you in technology, especially, you know that the state that figures out how to drive down power costs, drive down carbon emissions, and increase power output is the state that's going to win the future. And as governor, I'm going to make sure that's New Jersey. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. Next question will be coming from Sarvari Masood. Sarvari, can you stand up and ask the question?
Hi, my name is Sarvari, and I'm a junior in high school, and this is kind of relating to that. So the Department of Education is under threat and is affecting teachers and students. So my question is, how will you stand up to the public education and make sure every kid in New Jersey has access to a quality school? Thank you.
So we like to say in New Jersey that we have the best education system in the nation. And that's true in many parts of our state, but it's not true in every part of our state. It still can very much be by zip code. So we have to make sure that we are delivering a great education to every student. And you're right, with the cuts, I would start with the cuts that are coming from the federal government. New Jersey is a net donor state. So we give more money to the federal government than we get back. Thank you. Then we get back here. Maybe you're scaring me. Then we get back here in New Jersey, which is why if the federal government refuses to send back the funds for things they have committed to running, like the Department of Education, my Attorney General is going to take them to court, because we really need to claw back that federal funding if we're going to drive down costs. We also need to make sure that as we're looking across the state, we're pushing money into education in the right places. So we look at all of the towns, and we have a lot of towns in the state. Just to give you a sense of this, we have more municipalities than California, and we have more school superintendents than mayors. So we have some school districts that are operating a full administrative cost, so all of the personnel and facilities of far bigger schools. So we really need to look at sharing services in some of these areas and to defray some of the cost on our local governments, because school systems can cost 60–70% of a town's budget, providing some county-based magnet schools to start to defray the cost. Things like STEM schools and some of our occupational schools. We have some of those across the state. They are some of our highest performing schools that we have. So defraying some of the costs there and moving into that. As we look at ways to run a great school system, even if we are facing attacks from the federal government. So thank you. Thanks so much.
Next question is from Ashley Caldwell.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ashley. So faith communities in our state have faced a rise in hate crimes. What steps will you take to protect minorities and ensure safety in our schools and neighborhoods?
That's a great question. So when I first applied to the U.S. Attorney's Office, they were in a hiring freeze for federal prosecutors. But Eric Holder, who was the Attorney General at the time, was hiring people under what he called his Smart on Crime initiatives. So before I became a federal prosecutor, I was hired as an outreach and reentry coordinator. And as part of my work in outreach, that was at a time when the NYPD was spying on masjids across the state. And so my job was to reach out to the Muslim community to talk about what was going on and to continue to build those ties so that people would feel comfortable coming to law enforcement if they were being threatened or if there were crimes being committed. And so I went and met with many of the Muslim communities across the state. I worked with Attorney General Holder, he was the state Attorney General, on his interfaith community to set up cultural competency for our law enforcement, to make sure that people from the community had inroads into our police and safety so they knew who to contact and would feel safe doing so and could report hate crimes. And then we also pushed out money from the federal government for protection. It was called at the time UASI grants. Now I think we've renamed it, but we continue to fund that so that schools and places of worship can have the safety that they need. I've also continued that work, pushing out different programs in education to create more empathy and more understanding between communities, and we'll continue to do that. And I've been thinking a lot about this because we've seen this rise in hate crimes across our state in so many different areas. And it just, I thought our chairman of Middlesex County spoke so well about what we do here in New Jersey and who we are when we're at our best. And that is this understanding that together we're so much stronger and so much richer because of our differences, and that should not be feared or looked upon as a kind of a minus, but rather a plus. And so creating that sense of empathy and opportunity because of all that we're given here in New Jersey, I mean, there are many of us that are here specifically because this state offers that kind of upbringing for our children that we want to see, that appreciation that'll make them better in a global community, and showing that as a strength and teaching that in our schools, I think, is really important. So thank you again for the question.
Thank you so much. We are running behind the schedule. Sorry to Serena that we'll ask that question later on. What I'm going to do, I'm going to request everybody, you see the placard on your table. I will request all the elected leaders, if you can help me, come on the front and hold the placard. And Hanan, if you want, you can also come in front of them. So, on the front down, right. I want everybody down, right. So I will ask all the photographers come up where I'm standing. Right, thank you. I will ask all the photographer and camera, can you come where I am standing? So I want at least that you stand on your table, hold the placard up. If you have your cell phone, put the light on, and come in front of me, hold the placard, each one of them, and Hanan will have some slogan, and I want those to get the recording. No, you guys want to face me. You guys want to face me. You guys want to face me and go back. You want to face me. And Mikie comes in the middle.
डॉक्टर साहब आप भी माइक नीचे ले जाए Hanan, you go नहीं Hanan, you go over there too please one
Can everyone stand up? First off, can I just say what a beautiful crowd here tonight? Give yourselves a huge round of applause.
come in the middle
Look, events like this, just before we start, I have to say this to the Congresswoman. Thank you so much for coming out here tonight. Events like this is the meet and greet. It's for the community to meet you, to see your vision for the future, because when you're the next governor, we're all coming to help you. And it's for you to see the best county in the state, the best of the best is right here. You, all of you, our immigrants, our friends and family, you are the reason we are the best in New Jersey. Your resilience, your intelligence, everything about you, your integrity is what makes us the best. So raise your signs high. When I say go, you say Mikey. Go! 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 When I say rise, you say together. We rise. We rise. And what are we going to do? We're going to make her governor. So here, let's have a huge round of applause for the next governor of New Jersey, Mikie Sherrill. Congressman, if you want to take a selfie from here with the whole crowd, if everyone can just still stand up for just a second, I think it would be a great shot from right here.
All right, guys. Let's see. Okay, ready? Oh, that's great. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
One more time. Actually, can you have a picture, please? Congresswoman.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Zubair, can you come to the group picture? Hanan, can you go there for the brother, can you come all the way on the back of this table? डॉक्टर साहब आप आ जाओ अनान आप भी सेंटर में आओ मैं उधर आ सकते ओके look here please everybody
Thank you.